Hello, thank you for joining us on the news. I'm Ruth Aguwele. My sign language interpreter is Shegun Ajayi. Let's start with the headlines. President Tinubu orders security operatives to take decisive actions against those responsible for insecurity in Benue and other regions. Nigeria partners China for enhanced infrastructural development and economic growth. And Pope Leo XIV canvasses world peace amidst ongoing conflicts in places such as the Middle East and Ukraine. President Bola Tinubu has ordered security agencies to take decisive action against those responsible for the insecurity in Benue and other regions of the country. He gave the order during a town hall meeting with stakeholders in Benue State following the crisis leading to the death of some persons in Yelewata. Addressing the political crisis, the president proposed the formation of a committee that would include all relevant stakeholders, such as traditional rulers, to explore avenues for fostering peace and advancing the state.
We are members, as Nigerians, we are members of the same family, living in the same house, but sleeping in different rooms. Whether you are a thief or you are a Joma, you are Yoruba, you have no choice but to turn this country into a nation of prosperity, unity. Fight our enemies together, not fight each other now.
While we continue to mourn our losses and rebuild from the ashes of pain, we humbly urge the federal government to consider establishing a special intervention fund for communities affected by these incessant attacks in Benue State. Such a fund would go a long way in supporting the rehabilitation of the displaced persons, rebuilding of destroyed infrastructure, and restoring the livelihoods of our farmers and families whose lives have been upended.
President Tinubu also visited victims of recent attacks at the state teaching hospital. The federal government is set to sign more than 30 memoranda of understanding as Nigeria prepares to host the second session of the Nigeria-Brazil Strategic Dialogue Mechanism, scheduled to begin Monday, June 23, 2025. Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Ibrahim Hassan Areja, disclosed this during a press conference at the presidential villa on the planned visit of the Vice President of Brazil, Geraldo Alckmin, to Nigeria. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
This meeting is to highlight the three-day event, providing the platform for government to tap into the new investment flows, facilitate technical cooperation, and open pathways for enhanced strategic engagement for businesses. The visit of the Brazilian delegation is a landmark event in Nigeria's international diplomacy and a strategic platform for deepening bilateral relations between the two influential regional powers.
Nigeria, the largest economy in Africa, and Brazil, the economic powerhouse of Latin America. Since its establishment in 2013, the FDM has served as a cornerstone of our shared vision for mutually beneficial South-South cooperation. It is held biennially on a rotational basis between Abuja and Brasilia, and its return this year signals a renewed momentum in Nigeria-Brazil relations.
The session is particularly significant as it aligns with the Renewed Hope agenda, which emphasizes economic revitalization, global partnerships, and the repositioning of Nigeria on the world stage.
I will have the honor of chairing. With over 400 million consumers combined and complementary strengths in agriculture, bioeconomy, digital innovation, and creative industries, the Nigeria-Brazil Economic Corridor is brimming with untapped potential. This forum is designed to catalyze tangible economic linkages and unlock investment partnerships.
A program that seeks to establish an agricultural initiative in every local government of the Federation, 774 local government, whether it is from production of livestock or production of crops or processing or aggregating, and every local government would have an agricultural initiative. So we're looking forward to that, and we're happy that we are on the right trajectory in terms of food sufficiency. Mr. President has directed us to achieve food sovereignty, and we're on that course.
Nigeria enters into this dialogue with an open heart, with open arms and an unwavering commitment to lead from a place of dignity, from a place of creativity, and a place of vision. For the past 3 months, the Ministry of Art, Culture, Tourism and the Creative Economy has had an active dialogue with our Brazilian counterparts, and these efforts will culminate into the signing of 2 pivotal memorandum of understanding, and it will open new doors and new vistas for Nigeria and for Brazil.
We have close to 30 MOUs that we are negotiating. Some will be able to conclude next week and sign, and while others will continue for the state visit of Mr. President to Brazil.
The strategic dialogue mechanism being coordinated by the Office of the Vice President is designed not just as a diplomatic event, but as a strategic platform to secure real investment outcomes and deepen South-South cooperation. From the State House, Brahman Jibrila, NTA News.
Federal government is finalizing emergency evacuation plans for its citizens stranded in Israel and Iran following the recent escalation of hostilities between the two nations. A statement by the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimebi Ebimfa, strongly advises all affected Nigerian nationals to adhere to safety protocols and immediately contact the nearest Nigerian embassy or mission for registration and further directives. The ministry commended the efforts of Nigeria's missions in Tel Aviv and Tehran for their swift response and dedication to assisting the Nigerian community during this crisis. The Nigerian government reiterates its commitment to the safety and welfare of all its citizens, both at home and abroad. In other news, Pope Leo XIV calls for world peace amidst ongoing conflicts in places such as the Middle East and Ukraine. During his greeting to the Italian-speaking faithful at the end of Wednesday's audience at St. Peter's Square, the Holy Father spoke out against the normalization of war, adding that he worries about the powerful nature of modern weaponry. Framapai reports.
The world must resist the allure of modern weapons, which threaten to give conflicts a ferocity surpassing the previous wars, Pope Leo XIV said. He said at the conclusion of his general audience that the heart of the Church is torn apart from the cries that arise from places of war, in particular from Ukraine, Iran, Israel, and Gaza. We must not become accustomed to war, the Pope said. Rather, we must push against the allure of powerful and sophisticated weapons as a temptation. Quoting the Second Vatican Council's Pastoral Constitution on the Church in the Modern World, Pope Leo said in modern-day warfare, scientific weapons of all kinds are used, and consequently, its atrocity threatens to lead the combatants to a barbarity far greater than that of the past times. Pope Leo's message came a few days after he expressed deep concern over the seriously deteriorating situation in the Middle East shortly after Israeli airstrikes were carried out on nuclear sites in Iran and retaliatory drones attacks on Israel were launched in June 13. The Pope's appeal comes at a time of high international tension, where military clashes and humanitarian consequences are taking on increasingly worrying proportions. Frama Pani, NTA News.
Nigeria, we hear, is working round the clock to strengthen its ties with China for enhanced infrastructure development and economic growth. International relations expert at a one-day seminar on advancing knowledge exchange between Nigeria and China acknowledged diverse results in the Chinese partnership with Nigeria and Africa at large. David Ire reports.
The seminar aims to promote the contemporary world magazine Nigeria as a veritable platform to advance improved ties between Nigeria and China. For the Chinese embassy in Nigeria, the just concluded ministerial meeting of coordinators on implementation of follow-up action on China-Africa cooperation is geared towards giving impetus to the development of state-to-state relations.
The contemporary world magazine should become a national social science core journal, combining authority and knowledge, melting the world's latest information, focus on the unique perspectives, to authorities to analyze the world focus, in-depth exercise of international relations and transmitting information on politics, economics, society, military, culture, and the life of various countries.
Director General of the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution believes that the magazine will also ensure a proper narrative and synergy between the leaders of the two countries.
It is also a timely opportunity to align this effort with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 4Ds foreign policy doctrine and the vision of the renewed hope agenda under the 4Ds: democracy, development, demography, and diaspora. Nigeria is repositioning itself on the global stage. These principles are not only strategic priorities, they are reflections of our national identity and our aspirations.
When China started reforming in 1970, it sent out scholars, bureaucrats all over the world to learn ways to do things newly. But then also, the great reformer, Deng Xiaoping, was very clear to warn. We will explore what others are doing, but we must rely on ourselves.
The seminar is organized by the Contemporary World China and Nigeria's Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution. In Abuja, David Ire, NTA News.
Members of ECOWAS Mediation and Security Council at the ministerial level are meeting in Abuja to receive memoranda from the ECOWAS Commission on several issues on peace and security in the sub-region. The meeting, which is the 54th session, is being attended by ministers from all member states. Kelvin Ehunwahi reports.
Humanitarian crisis and poverty arising from conflict, terrorism and climate change are some of the key challenges threatening the stability and resilience of the West African sub-region. This meeting of members of the Mediation
I extend our warmest congratulations to the ECOWAS Commission on
ECOWAS institutions in tackling these challenges and deliberate on proposals from the ECOWAS Commission regarding the state of the regional standby force and logistics depot, as well as intervention in early warning system and preparedness for climate change impacts.
The Commission and its team will provide a comprehensive analysis of trends and developments in our political landscape, including the transition process in the Republic of Guinea, as well as updates on the preparations for presidential and primary elections in 2 of our member states at the last quarter of the year.
Excellencies, as you will see in the report of the mission of the Special Envoy on Counterterrorism, no literal state is safe from the onslaught of terrorism, particularly in the absence of a regional framework for intelligence sharing and regional kinetic force.
Outcomes from this meeting will form the bulk of presentations to the Council of Ministers and authorities of heads of state and government at their next respective meetings. In Abuja, Kelvin Ehunwahi, NTA News.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back in a moment. Thank you for staying tuned. Nigeria is ramping up its efforts to protect its diverse ecosystems and secure a sustainable future through a robust national biodiversity strategy and action plan. Charles Alpha reported that the plan being deliberated upon by the Global Environment Facility, the Federal Ministry of Environment and Development partners is a comprehensive framework intended to strengthen conservation, restore ecosystems and improve livelihoods nationwide.
Nigeria is blessed with some of the richest biodiversity in Africa, with diverse ecosystems and magnificent wild fauna and flora, including many endemic species. This biodiversity is not only interwoven into the Nigeria's economy, its ecology and culture. It also delivers a plethora of ecosystem services such as food, medicine, and healthy soils for crops. Yet, a robust national biodiversity strategy and action plan, many believe, will further boost the services it provides.
Biodiversity affects all of us, and our actions or inactions affect biodiversity conservation in Nigeria. So that is why it's very important that you are here and you need to validate this document.
It's also going to help Nigeria to, restore, conserve, and biodiversity, and also integrate biodiversity into its national plans.
It is important for us to take the part of the civil society organizations and the communities that are also doing great work at the community level into consideration.
Demonstrating Nigeria's full commitment towards a comprehensive national implementation, Minister of Environment Balarabe Abbas Lawal formally validated the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan 2025-2030.
Your contribution will help shape policies that foster biodiversity conservation while balancing developmental needs.
The Nigeria's updated National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan, he said, has been adopted as a whole-of-government policy, with the 23 national targets, each in alignment with the corresponding global biodiversity targets and goals. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Flipping to the judiciary, the Prosecution Counsel, Adeboyega Awomolo, SAN, leading the fourth prosecution witness and evidence in the alleged trial of terrorism acts against the leader of the IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, tendered a report by the National Broadcasting Commission on the importation of transmitter for Radio Biafra before the court. Judiciary correspondent Austin Ayebe reports.
Concluding the evidence in chief of the fourth prosecution witness, Adeboyega Awomolo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, tendered a report by the NBC which identified it as a German-made radio transmitter. The NBC report says no license was issued for any radio station named Radio Biafra in Nigeria. The witness speaking to the report alleged that Kanu was directly involved in the importation of the transmitter through the funds raised from members of IPOB. He also cited a newspaper report dated July 3rd, 2021, which claimed Kanu ordered the killing of security agents in the southeast. Mr. DDD stated that confessions made during investigation revealed that IPOB operatives were ordered to behead security agents, with some allegedly consuming human flesh for fortification. He said between 170 and 200 security agents were killed in line with Kanu's alleged inciting broadcast. Under cross-examination, the defense counsel Onyechi Ikpeazu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, questioned the credibility and legality of prosecution's evidence. He pointed out that the witness did not sign the investigation report and also had no direct evidence of the transmitter's importation. The defense in its cross-examination highlighted that Kanu's broadcasts included instructions not to attack churches or mosques and showed no incitement against other ethnic groups, as well as condemned the killing of Ahmed Gulak and promised compensation to all affected persons. The witness, in responding to a question about whether he believed everything reported in the media, replied in affirmative, prompting the defense to cite controversial media claims such as those by Sunday Igboho. The defense concluded by alleging prosecutorial bias and insufficient investigations. The trial is expected to continue Thursday. From the Federal High Court, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
In commemorating the International Day for Countering Hate Speech, the National Human Rights Commission is advocating best approach on tackling hate speech. Omenka Amarachuko reports that the Commission also issued an advisory on the role of media in countering and reporting hate speech.
June 18 every year is recognized as International Day for Countering Hate Speech. The day was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly to counter discrimination and hate speech globally. Recognizing the importance of the day, National Human Rights Commission is encouraging the government, policymakers to take a step to prevent and combat hate speech.
Hate speech is not just a threat to individual dignity, it is a direct attack on democratic value and social cohesion. It violates the right to dignity of the human person, the right to be free from discrimination, and the right to participate in public life without fear of suppression or violence.
Tackling hate speech remains a top priority in the UN system. To address this issue, a whole of society approach is necessary.
The Commission is also advocating for a more inclusive and secured environment free of hatred and discrimination. In Abuja, Omenka Amarachuko, NTA News.
As the House of Representatives Committee on Solid Minerals continues its investigative hearing on the operations of miners with regards to compliance with the existing Mining Act 2007, it has constituted additional subcommittees to interface with the ministry and operators. National Assembly correspondent Joshua Ogunjide reports.
The subcommittees are mandated to carry out status inquiry on each company for clarifications on areas of misunderstandings in the mining extant law. The committee decried excessive license speculation with one community development agreement covering 3 licenses, lack of minimum work plan, and condoning of illegal mining by Zuma 828 Coal Limited.
Before we commence mining operations, we have to ensure that illegal miners have not dug tunnels.
When you go to Okobo, the entire houses are covered in dust. You know that. The streams are contaminated. You have 3 boreholes. This is from 2021.
You are testifying that the 3 licenses belong to the same company. And what they do is to keep paying the annual dues on the remaining 2.
So, Chairman, I please move that your committee should visit Zuma and see things let's see things for ourselves.
In the operations of Kaidi Investment, Landmass, Ontai, and Tumerums, unavailability of CDA and minimum work plan, which are preconditions for operation, high level of indebtedness in respect of accrued royalties, alongside the VAT unpaid, lack of remediation, expatriate quota, employees list, and safety document were among infractions discovered.
Apart from the 3 of you, the ministry and the clerk form that nucleus. We expect every document, the minimum work plan as approved by the government, the CDA as approved by the government, your tax returns on both landmass and avatar, all your VAT and tax remittances, your bank statements, we expect those documents. Expatriate quota for both companies and from CA2 and CA7.
The subcommittees have between 48 hours and 5 days to submit their reports. From the National Assembly, Joshua Ogunjide, NTA News.
President Bola Tinubu has congratulated Chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, on his 50th birthday. The President joins members of the Oyedele family, friends and well-wishers in celebrating the accomplished tax expert, accountant and economist who exemplifies excellence, resilience and innovation in public and private service. President Tinubu highlights Oyedele's inspiring journey from humble beginnings in Ondo State to academic and professional distinction at the top global institutions such as the London School of Economics, Yale University and Harvard Kennedy School. He also appreciates Oyedele's efforts to streamline taxation, provide relief for low-income households, and ensure that Nigeria's fiscal policies promote inclusive economic growth. The president prays that God will grant Oyedele continued strength, wisdom, and fulfillment as he continues his dedicated service to Nigeria and humanity. And that concludes the news. Thank you for your time. I'm Ruth Aguwele. My sign language interpreter is Shegun Ajayi.